Hello friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope everything will be fine. The incident in the hills of Mubarak village is sent by Arsal. I read it to you. My name is Arsal. My family and I went for a walk to the Mubarak village. In fact, I belong to Islamabad. My older sister and niece came from London. Some of my cousins and our family decided that we would go to the Mubarak village this time. To live in a Mubarak village, tents have to be installed, but our family members were overcrowded, so we booked a hut right there. Huts' prices were high, and it was quite far from tenant, because most people used to spend there with a tent. That hut was of the home type, so we thought it more appropriate to stay there. So we could have easily been there for 2 to 4 days. The very next day, we decided to go to the village. We all got in a van and headed to the village. When we arrived in the village, we had a restful night. I ate and fell asleep. In the morning, we all woke up to hills and enjoyed them a lot. When we returned at night, we all thought of resting because of exhaustion. My older sister was pregnant and wanted privacy, so she went into a room that was a bit separate and laid down. The window in this room opened to the outside. My sister wasn't used to lighting the lamp and sleeping, so she turned off the light and started sleeping. He felt like someone was looking at her from the window, but she understood her illusion and took the crotch. Now, he began to feel like someone had come out of that window and stood right next to her. She panicked. When she looked back, she saw a girl with very long hair. My sister started screaming, and we all came into her room and asked her what happened. So she said, I felt like a girl was standing next to me. My mother brought her to the lounge and said, "Sit here. You may be scared." After that, we all fell asleep. In the morning, we went out for a walk. It was late now that I was back, but some of my cousins were still on outings. I started singing in my room as soon as I came in and started using Facebook myself. I felt a little later as if someone was walking loudly and screaming on the roof of the hut. The sound of the hut walking on top was such that even in the sound of sharp songs, she could be heard clearly. My mom, who was sitting right in front of me, was slicing some onions, etc. to make food. I told them if you could hear someone crying and screaming. She said, "These are coming, but maybe your cousin is the one who is outing." I opened the door and went out to see that they were far from the hut. Their voice, even their ego, is very difficult. I said to my mother, "No, this voice is coming to me from the roof of the hut, like someone running and screaming out loud." My mother said, "Stop these songs." I stopped the songs, and it started to feel like that voice, but it wasn't sounding anymore. So many cousins came back, and we all started eating. The side I was sitting on was the stairs just in front of me. The stairs were such that halfway was visible, and after halfway, they went up. There was light on half the stairs, but not half. Eating. I felt like someone was watching us. I turned on the flashlight on my mobile and tried to watch. I didn't see anything. My cousin was sitting next to me, and he asked what the matter was. I said nothing. After a while, I felt like someone was watching us. My cousin sitting next to me told me I had seen a girl with very long hair who was watching us. I said I was so scared at first. "And you don't scare me anymore." He said, "I'm telling the truth." I thought, let's turn on the mobile light and see. I took my phone with me and headed for the stairs. We noticed that a girl with very long hair has a much stranger appearance than I can remember her precisely staring at us. In fear, we rushed from there, came down, and told our parents. We were just told that suddenly the light went off and we went ahead to run the generator. But the generator was not running, despite being gasoline-powered. It had become a very scary scene. Someone running on the roof began to sound loud, as well as the sounds of the vessel falling. Like a lot of things are falling apart around us. It looked as if someone was quickly running around. We were all so nervous that our driver was coming towards us to hear all this noise. He said, "I was lying in my van with the seat straight. I felt like someone was cranking their nails on the glass of the van, and one to attract when I looked. I couldn't see anything there. After a while, when the process happened again, I got out of my car and looked around. I couldn't see anything. As I got into the van, I heard what was going off. There was no family at night. There was no child hitting a stone, and no one was there at my disposal. Then I noticed that the type of van had exploded. You guys came over to ask for help getting someone to work with me to change the tire on the van. But here, the scene has changed. We were all very upset. Me and my 2 or 3 cousins went together with the driver. We did not see fit to stop there, and immediately put his belongings in the van and left the house. At that time, a lot of the equipment that we still have in the same location was left behind. We all got into the van, trying to save our lives. The driver started driving. He was too nervous. Now, it was like the girl was still running away with our van. That is, the speed of our van will be about 70 to 80 mph, and the girl was running with us at the same speed. She looked at us, but the driver did not stop driving away, and neither did we get home until about 1 or 1:30 o'clock in the night of the speeding. We were too nervous, and no one was aware of anything to eat or drink. We all had a very difficult night. In the morning, I tried to normalize everything. A few days later, my sister went back to London. That is why we had a feast for them. My father brought meat from outside, which we put in the fridge to make in the morning. The fridge was right in front of my room. It was a summer day, and I left the door to my room open. It was about 12 o'clock. I was still using my mobile use. I saw my mother open the fridge door, sit underneath the meat, and start eating. The meat was raw, and my mother was eating it like a child was eating chocolate. I was very surprised to see this scene, and I started making voices for my mother. "What are you doing, Mom? Why are you eating raw meat?" But my mother did not respond to anything I said. I hurriedly ran to my father's room. I heard a very strange voice from behind. I called out, "Warn if you try to wake someone up." Hearing this sound made me more nervous, and I quickly started knocking on my father's door loudly and said, "Dad, come out." As soon as Dad got up and came out, he also saw the scene. This is how our whole family got up. We very hardly sprinkled the meat from Mom's hand and put it back in the refrigerator to make chili in the morning, and took my mother into the room and sewed her. The incident was far more heartbreaking. Now we felt that my mother had been influenced by her. The next day, my father brought a scholar, and when I told him the whole incident, he said I had to leave some essential job for 6 days. So I draw a siege on it, read something, and breathe. Come back, and I will treat them completely. The next day, my sister suddenly went to Mom's room. She saw Mom chewing both her fingers and the blood coming out of them. She quickly gave us a voice. We saw this with our own eyes. I cried when I saw it. Spray the mother's hands and call the doctor to get a bandage. I got a sleep injection from the doctor. The effect of this injection would have lasted 12 hours. Mom woke up for a while, and we would drink the juice and get the shot again. After we gave it to Mom for 4 days, the scholar returned, and we told him the whole thing. He was very depressed to hear that. He treated my mother completely, and after that, she was perfectly well. The wound that my mother had on top of those 2 fingers has not even healed yet, and she asks us to this day, what happened to those 2 fingers? Because they don't remember any of the events that happened to them. Later, we asked the owner of the hut what it was. He mentioned that he never went into it after buying the hut. It had been over 25 years since he had been locked up. Tourists also never book due to tinting and have no knowledge about the presence of these things.